Welcome back to the Arcadian podcast. Today is episode number 10, and it is Monday, March 18th, 2019. Today we're going to be talking about the rising influence of video game streamers, and we also have a couple really awesome trending news stories to discuss. Those are going to be Halo, the Master Chief Collection is now officially coming to PC on both Steam and the Microsoft Store, which I am super excited about. We're also going to talk about the articles and videos that have been coming out regarding Anthem's bugs and blunders. I feel like they just keep coming out on a daily basis. I'm kind of sick of hearing about it. I feel like it's beating a dead horse, but we'll jump into that as well. And another thing that I'm super passionate about, Valve and Steam, they're taking steps against user review bombs. And they will no longer be included in a game's overall review score. So that's something that we're going to finish up with today. So the rising influence of video game streamers, I just want to start this and frame this, which is a little bit of intro on some data on Twitch and Twitch users. So, as other forms of entertainment, such as movies and television, decline in both viewers and revenue, the video game industry is one that just continues to rise in popularity, and especially the esports scene, and especially video game streamers. Some numbers from Q1 2018 show that 1.1 million people streamed on Twitch during that time, which is I don't know about you guys, but I saw that number and I was like, holy crap, that's a fucking shit ton of people. A lot, way more than I ever thought. And I was thinking how many of those people never get more than 2 viewers, which I feel they're paying, but it's such a shame. Yeah, it's 95% it's so, of them. I'd say maybe more. Yeah, I think they're all waiting for their big break. But also, just more numbers to add to that, viewers during that same quarter, Q1 2018, they watched a total of 2.5 billion hours of stream time. Insane. And at any given time, on any given day, there were at least 1 million people watching, no matter what, across the world. It's all crazy. It's such a big platform. It's going to keep growing. With the numbers being that large at the beginning of 2018, I'm sure they're even more astounding now. Unfortunately, I couldn't find out those numbers, but I can only imagine what it's bloomed to since this report came out. I feel like popular video game streamers have a ton of influence over their viewers and are able to pull in, especially the really popular ones, are able to pull in tens or hundreds of thousands of viewers at any given time. As soon as they upload, people are just flooding into their channel. But let's just start off by I watch Twitch every once in a while, not every day or anything, but I do like it. There's certain content creators that I like, so let's just talk about who we all like to watch on Twitch, and what content, games, and creators that we really enjoy most.
See, I really what I would say about Twitch, it's kind of reinvigorated my passion for a lot of video games that I no longer play. More specifically,
that's a great point. Yep.
A game like Age of Empires 2, which honestly I hadn't picked up for years and years and years. A game I used to play in my childhood, but actually as a community itself as well, it's kind of been revitalized to the point where there's a few guys that get a few thousand viewers, stream community games. They do tournaments with their I guess technically they're professional Age of Empires 2 players. They do have sponsored teams and things like that. Granted, this isn't a mainstream popular game anymore. It was pretty popular, during its time, but it's a lot of fun to watch. And I mean, it really makes you yearn for those good old days of old games that that we really used to. I feel like we touch on that a lot here, our nostalgia, but Twitch kind of facilitates that. I like it a lot. I also like that it's a one-man show kind of thing. There just isn't a whole production team. You're getting one person's point of view on whatever it is you're watching, whatever game. You get that continuity. Every time you're coming back to watch one of your favorite streamers, you know what to expect. You know what you're getting. Generally, you'll probably align with like-minded people. Whatever game that you find popular, that's probably who you're gonna gravitate towards, the people that you think more in line with.
Yeah, I mean that's a really good point. I think about it just being like a one-man show and like getting used to that personality, because I feel like what I haven't been liking lately in the industry is like you go to like review websites and like you think like you like a review that you've read or something, or you like a score, and then you go to read another one and it's by a different person. And then like you go to read another one and it's by somebody else. And all of a sudden like you can't tell like who's reviewing what, and you don't like get a sense of like what that brand's opinion is anymore. But like with a Twitch streamer, like you always know, and you can like kind of trust what they're saying to a certain extent, or like at least feel where they're coming from.
Exactly. It might be a little bit of a stretch, and I don't know how far you want to go down this rabbit hole here, but you were throwing out some numbers as far as like viewership on Twitch.
Yeah.
At least at any one point in time during the day, 1 million people were watching some form of streaming content, video game wise, on Twitch. How those numbers stack up against, general television, it's probably getting to the point where it's starting to look a lot more competitive. And honestly, it's kind of making me afraid that we might start to see, I don't know, like larger production, like a larger team working around maybe some of the bigger streamers, to where,
Yeah, I mean it's where it's where the youth viewers are too.
Yeah,
I think it's already kind of happening with people like Ninja and Shroud and everything. I mean, everything that they have that is probably paid for by somebody, by the fans or sponsors. So I mean, it's kind of already happening.
That's a good point you brought up there.
Yeah.
Fans or the sponsors. I think it's a lot better if it's the fans, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to primarily being funded by the sponsors. I think that's another cool thing about Twitch, right?
Yeah.
Vote with your money.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, finish your.
But yeah, they have all these promotions where he went to Poland and he's got fans all over the place. So it's just inevitable that they're gonna get their claws dug into this eventually. If there's money to be made, it's gonna happen. One of the things that I wanted to say is it is kind of strange. I thought that when I first heard of the idea of Twitch and everything, I thought that there would be a lot more people viewing just random, rather than it's kind of interesting to see that there is just certain streamers that have the majority of people watching them, rather than people putting them, going on random people's streams and just watching them. I thought it would be more spread out when I first heard of it, but it's not the case. It's definitely not the case.
I think there's that level of like production value, between Joe Schmo like sitting in his basement with no lights on, and Ninja doing his. I mean, I think
I like Joe
it does make a little.
I find myself like watching the bigger streamers, like when I'm on there most of the time, like I'll just watch a big channel, because like I'm just not on it enough to like really, I think like really care what I'm watching. It's more like a time waster. Like if the doc's on, like I'll just watch him, But like there are nights, like a couple weeks ago, I found myself like watching a Donkey Kong 64 speedrun that had like not that many viewers, and like I don't know why I was, and I was on the internet for like 15 minutes. I think that's the thing. If I'm with a small channel, like I'll be in there for like a little bit, and then I'm gone.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because usually not. Most of those people, it's probably not their job at that point. That like sub 100 viewers, sub 1,000 viewers. They're probably not able just to live off of this, and they're probably not engaging with their audience to like a level that is going to keep you entertained, aside from whether or not you just love that video game they're playing.
All right. And I was also just thinking, it's kind of like human nature to like go and want to be as a community watching, rather than just it seems like most people would want to be a part of that community, interacting through the chat and just being able to say like, oh, did you watch Ninja? You see that crazy shit he did? You see that when he got on Fortnite? Like, I think that's another part of it too.
Yeah, I think the chat's actually like more fun than the streamer, like half the time. So
Yeah, some funny stuff.
Well, that's a good point you brought up there, and that's really a big difference between most other forms of media and Twitch streamers, that you got that live feed chat right there that is not only interacting with each other, you're like essentially watching. Maybe I should preface this. I hate Twitch chat for like 99% of the time, but it's a really cool idea. I mean, not only are you sitting there like watching with your buddies pretty much, reacting to the stream, but that person in real time is reacting to you as well. And it's like a club, and that's how you get people to subscribe to them, pay that extra money, donate to the streamers. It's
a lot more personable. It's the only media that right now that is really personable, and like you said, you get to interact and everything. So it's as we get deeper into the digital age, other crazy medias that come about, kind of the interactions between podcasts and just also media shows. Sometimes they'll have chat or they'll have the mail. I think people really dig that. They want to be a part of it.
What only seems to work with like the Twitch, the live stream stuff, the YouTube when they do the live streaming stuff, but like other forms doesn't work so well. I feel like if you went to a movie theater, somebody was like talking about the shit that was going on the screen, you probably wouldn't be like too engaged, or you wouldn't want to be like standing there staring at your phone screen as the chat rolls in on the movie you're watching. It's like flying by in front of you, but
won't work for no damn movies, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, there's like, I don't know, Matt kind of alluded to it too. There's a little bit of downtime, right?
Yep.
It's not like constantly like you have to have your eyes glued to the screen. You can be doing other things. You can listen to them. It's like a really easily digestible.
I mean, you did.
I barely even watch the damn thing when I'm on it.
Yeah.
It'll just be like 11 o'clock and I'm not tired yet, and I'm like, well, I can like fuck around for 20 minutes on Twitch, I guess.
Yep.
Right.
And I hardly pay attention. I'm usually reading, like watching screen and just.
I mean, I'll just hop on like a Hearthstone channel or something, and like, it's just easy. It's easy gameplay. It's like easy on the eyes, easy on the ears. Like, there's nothing going on. It's just like, and I know how to play the games. Like, it's fun, and like, I don't have to spend $500 to be competitive. So like, it's even more fun. I can just like sit there and watch it.
It's a little vicarious, right? Some of those guys are obviously better than us at video games. It's fun to watch and play.
Yeah, that kind of gets to my point too, is like, for me, like when I play games, I like to be competitive, right? And like when you're trying to be competitive, it's like requires like focus and commitment, and like you have to like, like be really like into the game and like zoned in.
Yep.
Sometimes I don't have the energy to do that, so it's nice to be able to go and watch somebody that is really good at the game be competitive, and like not have to like build yourself up to that level of focus that you need to play at a high level. Like, so you kind of live vicariously through the streamer in that regard.
Yeah, and like I find myself learning a lot of like strategies too from them, like just from watching it, and like, and just from being there for 20 minutes, like I pick up 3 things that like actually like greatly improve my play.
Yeah, while we're going through that seriously through the streamer, I do want to just think about how many people who were like, not full-time gamers, or just we're just who had friends who were gamers, and like Twitch kind of like brought other people into the fold. It brought I know there's a lot of people, like my sister and her boyfriend and their group of friends, they just like watch Twitch. Like they play video games, but like their main thing is to watch Twitch. Like it's just it really, I think it's really broadening people's it's broadening the perspective, and making people realize like that it's cool, and there's community out there, and people can be funny, and people can be considerate and compassionate about this game, about video games. Everybody just thinks that, not everybody, but and the majority of people do think that games are silly and childish. It's like, no, this can be serious. People can make money off of this. People can do this for a living, and there's a lot of people who are interested in it.
Yeah, I mean, plus, there's like a certain stigma around video gamers that like they're kind of loners or they're like antisocial, and like I think that that's like semi-true. I mean, it's obviously not true for like the whole entire community, especially as it gets more popular. I think there's like more and more people that like are very social actually, but like I think that Twitch gives people like an outlet and like a community to go to when like maybe they don't have like that many people in real life who like the same thing as them, like especially if they're younger, which is a really good thing.
Definitely.
And just kind of piggyback off that, it's not really a Twitch related, but like as far as video games being like viewed as antisocial or loner, I would say now with like the rise of multiplayer online games, that everything's a lot more interactive now. Like when I'm playing games, like I'm always talking to somebody, or like on Discord or whatever. So I feel like there's a lot more as time has gone on and everything's online and like multiplayer. You interact a lot more with people than you used to.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Like whenever you had like an N64, it was just you and like if your friend was there. Now it's like, you know what I mean? You can talk to any, like if you get into like a group with somebody, you can literally talk to anybody over the world.
It's almost like you can't play games anymore and not interact.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, I agree 100%. And like I've made friends just from playing video games with them and meeting them online. And then like I've gone, you know what I mean? Then I've gone and met them in person because of
BlizzCon
playing video games, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Adam and I went to BlizzCon with you, and like we literally had never met them, and they were like the best guys. So
right, and like there's a lot of cool people, and like you would just based on like the video game stigma being like loners or losers or weirdos or whatever. Like not everybody's like that. There's like some pretty cool people out there.
Yep.
I'd say the majority of them are pretty cool. I mean, it's just like anything, right? I mean, just out trying to be social. I mean, there's a lot of weirdos out there trying to be social.
Oh yeah. That's a good point.
In public, it's like anything. Got to take it with a grain of salt. And it's one of the other things. It's kind of like I'm glad that it's getting this kind of video games in general are getting this kind of spotlight, this kind of notoriety now. Like it's getting to the point where it's much more acceptable, and it's not so hard as it used to be to like explain to somebody on the outside. I feel like people that don't play a lot of video games have a better like base understanding of like this, at least like the social aspects of it. You guys following what I'm saying?
I mean, I usually just like show them some Dead or Alive 6 gameplay and I rope them right in.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they're a man of, if they're male in the age category of like 16 and up, then that's all you got to do. Just show them Dead or Alive.
Real man of culture.
Bikini. But what I was gonna say is, it's there is a lot of stigmas with video games, and I think it's just from it's the general, it's a general public. They still have this idea that it's like silly, it's a waste of time. And
I think it's getting better though. That's
certainly 100%. But there's still like if you talk to people, in your day to day, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go play a video game for 4 or 5 hours, they're gonna be like, what? Like,
yeah. Plus, I think the worst thing about it is like the way the media like tries to portray gamers. It's always like, they'll bring up like just the word like gamer as like a group of people, and like you would think the way they described us and like everybody else, like we're like, like a bunch of mole people living down underground or something, like haven't seen the light of day. Yeah, like skulking around
when we walk and stuff. Got a smell to us.
Yeah. Well, that might be true.
But what I wanted to say was, for me personally, and I know you guys, we've done it with each other. We've been playing games with each other for a while now. One thing that I know for certain is that some of the bonds that you, some of the just general experiences that you make, or that you experience while you're playing video games, and some of the bonds that you make, you really work in some of these games, you're really working towards something, and there's goals involved, or it's a lot more complex than people want to say. You're just playing a silly game. It's this stuff is deep.
It is.
I could have said that a little bit better, but
well, you can make like $1 billion now, you know, being on Twitch and streaming if you get really popular, which actually brings me like to the main point, unless Adam, do you have something to say?
Well, no, I just wanted to throw it back to what Ben said, as far as like the goals and everything that we're trying to achieve. And I feel like Twitch really embodies that well, with that sense of community and everybody kind of like pulling towards, you know, like one guy's effort to accomplish something, you know,
Supporting
on
him.
the stream, whatever it might be. I mean, there's so many different, obviously, games that they can be playing, funny little like goals and achievement runs and different things you can be doing. It really like kind of throws back to that whole like vicarious feeling, like you're cheering this guy on, like his accomplishments or her accomplishments, or you know, partly your accomplishments. You were there, kind of the cheerleader, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I want to jump down here to really like the meat of this topic and why, like, what actually like triggered me wanting to bring this up and like made me realize like, oh, why don't we talk about this? It's a great topic. So like there's an article circulating around that was stating that Ninja was paid $1 million by EA to promote Apex Legends upon its release. Which, you know, first off, good for him. That's incredible. Like, you know, anytime like someone small like that, like just like an individual person, like you were talking about, Adam, is going to make that much money from a company, like I love it. It's awesome. And I thought back to Apex's release, and like I don't remember seeing any advertising for that game. It was like, it wasn't even announced that it was being released. It was like a 48-hour window. There was like a teaser for it, and all of a sudden it was on the market. And then like, I kind of hit me that like the advertising campaign, like, I mean, there was an advertising campaign, and it was spent on these streamers like advertising the game like upon its release. I mean, that's what they spent the money on. So like, I don't know that you can really say that like the streamers had a huge impact on it. You know, I think it would have done well either way. I'm sure it had a little bit of influence, but I just wanted to discuss like that, you know, the fact that like this newer form of video game advertising, I think like is going to be Twitch streamers, and like just talk about like the influence that Twitch streamers do have today, and like also like the balance of being a streamer, you know, building that trust with your audience, like making them like understand like what you're all about, like being genuine, but then at the same time, like the next night, like you're selling them a paid promotion of a game or like a product or merch or something. And I think that's like a really hard line to walk.
It is, and I think Twitch also does a good job with this too. I'm pretty sure that if you're going to do any kind of paid promotion, you have to state it's a paid promotion.
Yeah, you do.
Like while you're doing it. So I mean, this kind of practice has been going on for probably a few years now. I remember people trying to promote, like, granted, not always the greatest quality, like mobile games of the time, that's something you've never heard of before, trying to get you to play it. Granted, I don't know how successful they were. Probably not too terribly successful. I think you're right that the game itself, Apex, is just, it's a good game. I mean, there's no way around it. They did a very good job on it. It probably would have been popular regardless of if Ninja played it on day one or like day 101. So to
Yeah,
say
I think that's a fair
how much it
point.
really helped them, probably, you know, to that tune of the 50 million players in the first month, he probably had a lot to do with that. But
Yeah, I mean, which is an amazing benchmark. I mean, I think they definitely did something right.
I mean,
Yeah.
just a couple of points that I want to make is, I mean, for me, if you think about it, like paying a big streamer that has that much influence and that much of a following is honestly probably cheaper than standard traditional advertising. Would you
Yeah,
say?
that's a
To
great
pay-
point. I think
pay-
it would have to
Yeah.
be, Dave. Yeah.
to pay Ninja $1 million is probably not even remotely comparable to how much it would cost to, you know, have TV spots and all that other shit.
Yeah.
I would say paying Ninja $1 million is like infinitely cheaper than like
I
Yeah,
think
marketing.
Plus, when you pay Ninja, like, you know that everyone that sees that, him playing it, wants to see Ninja playing it. It's like
Yeah,
a
right.
100% effect rate. Like,
Yes.
when you're
Yeah.
on TV, you might get 10% of people that get to see the ad that actually like want to see it.
Right, and like a lot of people, like you're watching TV, you're not even paying attention to the fucking commercials anyway. Like if you're going to watch Ninja play, you're going to watch him play, and you're going to be like intently watching.
Yeah,
Yeah,
people
the
want their
thing that-
perspective, right? They want to know what Ninja and Shroud think about the game.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that. And like, I mean, it's probably more effective than standard advertising too, because like you're reaching literally directly to your target audience, right?
Yep.
It's
Whereas
actually
a TV commercial,
It's
you're
even
gonna get
more.
some of your target audience, but not much as you would.
yeah, it's actually
Mhm.
fucking
Not-
it's fucking brilliant actually when you think about it.
Oh
Yeah, you're not only that, but you're also taking people away from the competition as well. With Fortnite and PUBG by putting Ninja on there, like, taking him away from Fortnite. It's like,
Yeah.
you know how big that is. There's probably so many people, if not still playing Apex to this day, who played Fortnite. But there's at least so many people initially who are like, oh, he's gonna switch over and play. Even if it's just for a period of time, he's gonna play Apex. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna play that shit. Like, he just ripped probably hundreds of thousands of people from Fortnite.
Yeah, and he's having like a fucking blast. And it's probably he's probably having a genuine good time. Like, I'm not even saying that like he's just doing it for advertising, but yeah, like, people see that, especially younger kids, like, of course they're going to want to play it.
That's a great point. And actually just recently watched, as far as like enjoyment of playing the game, and I think a lot of people can tell that. I had watched a video recently on YouTube about Summit 1G. It was actually, remember previously he was really big into this battle royale scene.
I watched it.
You watched it too?
Keep going, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, and how he eventually, got to the point where he did no longer liked the genre, was not having fun, was upset, depressed that, he was spending X amount of hours a day playing something that he really didn't enjoy until he came upon Sea of Thieves, which had a lot of hype at its release, but, not necessarily on people's like top 5 greatest games of all time. But he thoroughly enjoys the game and he makes great content with it, right? So I think that goes a long way to kind of help balance out this paid promotion aspect. Even if you're paying the guy to play the game, I think people can really tell if they're really enjoying the game. And I think at least Ninja and I know Shroud especially, they have good opinions. They're not dishonest, at least at this point in time.
Yeah, at this juncture, it matters. We'll see if the fame and money sinks into their.
Well, I think or Ben, do you have something to say? Because I just have one more point to bring up on this.
No, go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to say, like, when you're paying a streamer to play a game, like, the player or the target audience doesn't have to see like like a trailer at E3 that like they think the graphics are going to be way better in that trailer than they are in game, which like most of the time that's how it is. Like, they get to see the actual gameplay and like decide if that's what they want, and like they don't need to like see a trailer for 2 minutes like in CGI, which looks fantastic, don't get me wrong, and like they've gotten me hyped for games, but like what's better than the actual product?
You're right. I mean, that's what you're going to be spending 8 to however many countless hours on that game seeing. So who cares if you can make a flashy video? PUBG did all kinds of trailer videos that honestly didn't look anything like the actual gameplay. So
yeah, we talked about that in I forget which podcast it was, but the advertisement one.
Yep.
How it is kind of advertisements are a lot lesser to a lot lesser degree nowadays. And I think it is because of that. Like, now you can get more with YouTube and all these other avenues to see gameplay. Why do you even need the advertisements just to get hyped up for something that's not realistic to the finished product?
So, just like a follow-up question on this, and I think I probably already know the answer, but are we going to see more and more games walk away from traditional advertising and move strictly towards like spending a lot of their advertising funding like on these streamers? And even like just a follow-up that I thought of right now, it might be hard to answer, but like, in like 5 years or so, like, could we even see streamers or like groups of streamers like teaming up like with games, like specifically with contracts, like to play them for a certain amount of time, or like even with companies as like almost like their spokesperson like for a certain game?
I think that that's already kind of happening, and it's
Mm.
gonna continue to happen and be bigger as time goes on. Because, like I was saying before, it's probably cheaper than traditional advertising, and it's probably more effective since you're reaching your target audience like directly.
Hmm.
So I don't see why it wouldn't go that way. It makes way too much sense not to.
Yeah. Seems
Like
inevitable to me.
nobody's buying a fucking video game when they watch a TV commercial. That's just not how it is anymore. I just don't think
Mm-mm.
that's
Well,
the way to
people
do
aren't
it.
watching. People who are playing video games are generally the TV. I mean, they're more likely to see an ad on or
On
you know,
YouTube, yeah.
and or on a website on the side of a website or something, an ad on a website. But yeah, no, I think that's already like Dave said, that's already happening. There's like teams that are playing these battle royales together. And but I think that what Matt is trying to get at is there's going to be more advertisement and more. It would be better. It's going to be better for streamers because people are going to have opportunities to make more money and become more relevant.
Yeah, I think I could see this happening, but maybe not so much with like the really big guys like Ninja and Shroud. I think they, make a lot of their bank off of making sure that they're playing the most popular game at the time. It seems like I think this might benefit, some of those smaller guys that have the smaller viewership, aren't the real big fish out there. But if they can team up with like a Anthem or something, if BioWare was going to throw a bunch of money at them to play it, I bet that they would sit down and play it and, be willing to take that viewership hit, something like that. That's the only thing I would be worried about. Seeing
Yeah.
seeing somebody like really big like that seems like most people respect their opinion, especially like someone like Shroud on a first person shooter. It, and have them locked down into one game and not allowed to stream something else would be unfortunate.
I guess it would I guess it would depend on the price tag, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a good point, Wolf, because they're not going to. The main reason people are watching them is because they're good and exceptional, amazing things on the games that they're playing. So that is a good point. That I don't think they'd be jumping around on different games.
Yeah, I mean they're going to want to play, so obviously something they enjoy, and something that other people will enjoy watching, right? Who it it's going to get to a certain point there, that trade off. Like, I really enjoy Shroud, but I mean I think I enjoy his shooting mechanics more in a high skill game. So like if our boys at Larian Studios went out and paid him to play Divinity 3 or something like that, he might lose some viewership.
Yeah, that's true.
Damn.
Yep.
So I kind of want to go a little bit further with this and take like a more like high level view, and like really just take this to its logical end. So I think like if streaming is already extremely popular and it's expected to continue to grow and grow over time, which is already touched on, how much is this going to affect the games that developers are making? And that publishers want to partner with it and get out there, and how they're getting it out. Like, wouldn't it benefit developers to make games that are more exciting to watch live? Like, more RNG, more action, mainly multiplayer, probably more multiplayer, more massively multiplayer than, what we're seeing today, or like on the same scale. And like, are we already seeing this happening to a certain degree?
Definitely. We're definitely seeing this happen. And I think we talk about it a lot, and it's that trend that we don't like in video games right now. And it's that kind of slapping the game together, rushing it out the door, trying to hype it up as much as possible, getting people to invest early on, promising things down the line, and getting like this sensationalized kind of video game feeling, but never really delivering on the game just because that genre is popular at the time or something like that, which would kind of, obviously the battle royale is the most popular thing right now. It's the most action, largest multiplayer thing you can do. But I mean, we've seen a lot of, I'd say a lot, I will say a lot of not so great games in general do well in this genre.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I don't like that as a trend, but it's probably going to continue. It's where the money's
mean-
at. That's where the people are at.
I mean, it's pretty apparent that like games that are more action based and are more multiplayer are always at the top views on Twitch. You know what I mean? Like League of Legends,
Mm-hmm.
shooters like Fortnite, Apex, Counter Strike, stuff, Overwatch,
Yep.
that kind of stuff, like PUBG. Like it's always those kind of games are every time you go on Twitch, if you go to the front page and look by viewers, it's always the higher action games generally. So
Yeah.
I would think that you would definitely see a shift in the market towards more games that are like that are more entertaining to watch. And you can see how big Twitch has grown over a short period of time. So it's just, and there's plenty of room for more growth.
Yeah, I agree. The more competitive games are for Twitch viewership are always going to be more popular. But it is interesting to see like the little niche communities that still are watching old RPGs, and I mean there's a lot of people. There's usually thousands of people still watching like Final Fantasy 11. I know I always got to bring up Final Fantasy 11. But I always think that's cool that there still is. They're much smaller, but there still is those communities, like Wolf had said with Age of Empires and everything.
Yeah, I mean, actually, you just made me think of a really great point, Ben. Like, I think that there's a reason that those niche communities are always older games. And I think it's because we're just not seeing games made like that anymore. And it's like, it's for this reason. Like, if you want to get like a Final Fantasy 11 experience, you have to go watch Final Fantasy 11. Because they're just not making them anymore. And I don't think they're going to. Like they're not gonna make Age of Empires anymore. Like I don't know why. If I was a developer, I just don't know why I would. Right. I think like that's like a reality that like I think we have to like start to realize is just gonna just keep being pervasive.
Yeah, definitely those games that we're very fond of are games like RPGs with me and Wolf with his RTSs, But what I was gonna say was I was thinking about this the other day, and I think that I've come to the conclusion that eventually gamers are gonna demand more from developers. I think that this was like an experimental period of time, and with all these weird release like unfinished games being released, and all these games in development that they pre-release and everything. I think this is just a period of time, and I think eventually we'll get back to what we want, which is full games being released. I think this is just a weird period of time. They wanted to experiment with it. They realize they can make money, but in the long run, I think that it'll revert back to full games, quality stuff being released, because there's gonna be too big. There's gonna be too much of a backlash.
I gotta be honest, Ben. I mean, I definitely disagree with that. I'm very hopeful that would happen. Like, I agree with you that I want that to happen. But I think the cat's kind of out of the bag. I think people were pissed, but like this games as a service thing, it's just too easy to do. I mean, it's just
yeah. No, I'm in agreement with you with that. I wasn't speaking on that. I'm talking about like there's always gonna. That's the new thing, is there's always gonna be updates and new content being released. But I think like the initial this initial release games being released and they're just garbage. I think that's gonna.
Oh, you think they'll hold on to them longer? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I'd be surprised. I'd be very surprised. There's such a big. I mean, I think the numbers show it. Depending on when you release your game is so important. Whether it's like the holiday season or timed too closely to, the giant in the room like Apex Legends right now. You'd have to say that, like a game like Anthem, obviously it has a lot of bugs and things like that, but it comes from a reputable game publisher and studio, and totally tanked. I would say just because another reason would be because it released so close to something so similar in Apex Legends. I think people are just going to keep rushing them out. They're going to get them out there as soon as they can, whether they're finished or not. just because they gotta try and grab that part of the market, grab those
I
players.
don't know.
viewership.
I hope I think that eventually they're gonna wise up that they're money by releasing things like Anthem. But also they may be looking at it like they can recover from it. You know, these initial bad releases. That's the only thing that may make that impossible,
Yeah.
is if they think that they can come back with updates and new content and etc. etc.
Yeah, Dave, you have any thoughts there? I like to think of you as like our financial guru.
I don't know. It's kind of tough because, like, as much as like battle royales are popular, like for me, I don't really enjoy them that much, and maybe I'm just like a stick in the mud or something. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. Like maybe
We're
I'm
getting
just
old,
different.
Dave. That's what it is.
I just think I like. I mean, like like it seems good on the surface, but like I can play it for a little bit, but I can never like really get into it and like commit a ton of time to it. So I don't know. It's hard to say, but like, so like some things that like give me hope going forward. Like I know I think we touched on it a while ago and a few like many podcasts ago, but like how Blizzard, Activision Blizzard, with everything going on, like they cut HOTS and everything, yada yada yada. But what was good about that is they like so they were like they like cut HOTS, they cut some of the games out like that were not as popular, underperforming, which is
Mhm.
sad to see like things like HOTS go. But in the grand scheme, it might be good because now you have those developers being allocated to other projects, and then like they even said, and Blizzard said in their earnings release that they were like they were cutting staff on those other games, and then they were going to allocate
Yeah.
20%
Yeah.
more resources to all their big name games, like and like developer resources, like the resource that matters the most, right, is your developers.
Mhm.
Like all their big franchises are getting 20% more development power, which to me, like that sounds incredible. Like games like World of Warcraft need that,
Yeah,
and they
and I
need
guess I mean they could finish content faster. I mean, yeah, that's a good point.
right, and they're working on they're working on games that are are good and are fun to play that I enjoy playing. So like that, and if you're putting more development power into those things, like I like that, and that gives me a little bit of hope, like going forward.
Right. So I just want to really go down to like the last question here and the last overall point on streamers and the influence that they have, and again, like just kind of getting to the logical end of their influence growing. Like, what happens if a certain streamer, like the most popular streamer, like the PewDiePie of streaming, or like say there's like a conglomerate or group of streamers that ends up like getting together like over the next couple years, which like I think will definitely happen, like and like start companies and stuff like that. I don't know how it wouldn't, but like what if they like just really hate the game that you make, or like maybe like a company like pisses them off. I don't know what would happen, but like I could see this happening down the road. Like there could be like serious ramifications for that developer or that publisher. Like the fans of the streamer personality like are gonna agree with the streamer, and like I feel like eventually, like would it be possible that streamers like might have too much influence, like that they can like kind of like throw their weight around and like kind of like dictate to the market like what kind of games they want?
I kind of like this idea that you're bringing up right now, that they're going to have some kind of like push and pull back against game developers, just because at least for right now, and I could see it at some point getting just way out of control. But these streamers are generally backed by just individual gamers, people like us that want to see better games. They want to see action games. They want to see a good game, that kind of thing. Where it could get to the point where they can kind of keep these game developers in line, because we've been seeing it. There's a lot of practices, especially things like loot boxes and unfinished games that are being released and in obvious like just terrible states that need constant patching. And I'm thinking of like the Anthem and Fallout 76 and things like that. Whereas it's just one more thing that we can kind of like regulate, control, make sure that us as the consumer, like we're probably going to benefit a little bit from that at some point. But I think you're painting this picture where it's kind of like really dark and like apocalyptic, where like these
Well,
these streamers
no,
are gonna like
I
be
think
bitter and like
I think
hate
I
a
did. Well, I
company
think I did phrase it like
down.
that. I mean, well, I never like any like sort of faction to have like too much power over something, especially like when it comes to
Right.
video games, which like we all love. I want it to be like kind of even, I guess. But like, yeah, if there were to be power in somebody's hands, I guess I would rather have it in these influencers' hands rather than like EA or something. I mean, I don't know, but
Because we're the ones propping up these streamers, right?
Yeah, exactly.
At this point. So as long as it stays like that, and you know, it's the consumer that's propping up the streamer, and the streamer has all this influence, I could see it being beneficial to
Yeah.
us.
That I think it could be beneficial, and I think that would be awesome if it worked like that, to have some, you know, by us as viewers, giving them their you know, if we're donating to them or just by watching them to get their views up. But the thing that I think is also important is if they become like shills and they act like
I think that's kind of what I'm. Yeah, that's like
representing.
kind of what I'm hinting at a little bit.
Okay, yeah, that's my concern is, you know, would there want for more sponsors and for developers to, you know, sponsor them and everything, would that override, you know, them serving us to a degree, you know?
Yeah, I mean that's a real
Well-
thing. I mean that happens.
And just to kind of counterpoint though, at the same time, like, yeah, they definitely streamers have influence, and like it could definitely like trash a game and maybe put it in a negative light and hurt the game potentially. But at the same time, like as somebody watching a stream, I don't want to watch a stream where a guy's just bitching about a game the whole time. Like I would turn it
Yep.
off. Like that's not fun to watch.
100%.
I
Well,
agree.
for some people it is. Some people like Dr. Disrespect, like really cutting it, tearing into a like PUBG when he would play. That
Oh,
was
yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, but like
think-
if that's kind of like your thing though, that's kind of like what he
Yeah,
does, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas like a normal streamer, like I mean, there's always gonna be that niche for people that can do that, and it'll definitely be a thing to some extent. But like for me, if I'm like actually want to watch a game, watch gameplay, I don't want somebody just bitching the whole time
No.
and saying this game fucking sucks. Like I don't know.
You're right.
Yeah, David, Dr. Disrespect is definitely he's not like he's
He's kind of a
special,
rare
he's a special case.
Yeah, he's a rare breed. Like there's not many people can pull that off, in my opinion. That's like really hard to pull off.
And I would definitely say that his criticisms of PUBG had a negative effect on that game for certain.
Oh,
There's
absolutely.
already an example right there for
Mhm.
Yeah.
a streamer affecting people playing a game.
But I think in that case, it might have been deserved. That was not a
Oh, yeah,
highly polished
certainly.
game to
Mm-mm.
any degree, and obviously had many iterations after its first release. But and it, you know, we played it for a long time. It's nowhere near as polished as something like Apex Legends on day one.
Hell no.
All right, jumping down to trending news for the day. We have 3 really great stories, especially the first and the third ones. I'm really excited to talk about them. But first one, my favorite thing ever, Halo: The Master Chief Collection is now officially coming to PC on Steam and the Microsoft Store. And just for context, like it's definitely my favorite shooter of all time. I love the Halo franchise, and it might be my favorite franchise of all time. Oh my god, I'm not sure on that though. I got to put more thought into it, but. So it's going to be starting with Halo Reach on release, and it's going to be adding the other games afterwards one at a time. And the reason they're doing this is to ensure that the games will have field of view sliders, and also great keyboard and mouse controls. But the full list of games in the collection is Halo, Halo 2, Halo 3, Halo 3 ODST, Halo 4, and then Halo Reach is actually being released for the first time, which is incredible because I think Reach might have the best campaign out of all of them. There is no official release date yet, but they did mention that Reach will be coming later this year. I guess that could really mean anything, but we will get it in 2019. Super exciting for a lot of reasons. Like I said, it's my personal favorite shooter. I feel like Bungie really made this series with a lot of passion, and I think that it shines through in every aspect of these games. But in our like conversation 2 weeks ago, we were talking about how battle royales just aren't quite there yet in terms of being a competitive shooter, at least not from our perspective. You know, I feel like this really couldn't be hitting the PC market at a better time. Like, I really feel that the market is primed for the shooter to take over for a little while. And I for one, like, I'm really glad that it's going to. Like, this is a shooter, like I said, that was taken a lot of care with, and I think that like some of these battle royales that like want to think that they're really good shooters like need to step aside for a while and like, you know, let the big guns come in for a little bit and take over and just like show them how it's done.
It's exciting for sure. I would be really happy to see a, you know, like a multiplayer competitive league be formed out of at least one of the iterations of this game. I'm not sure which one you would pick for that. Maybe Halo 3. I want to say that that's the one.
3-year Reach would probably.
I think that still has like an online community, tournaments, that kind of thing going on to this day. But to see something big, like big production, where like the studio gets behind it and really pushes that out. I'd be surprised. This is wishful thinking, but I think it would be awesome, just absolutely awesome to bring back a game like this, re-up the graphics a little bit, just like a good classic shooter, and people. We'll see how it fares, I guess, in today's climate as far as like a competitive shooter, right?
I think people like, I don't think they realize it, but I think they're like begging for a game like this right now. Honestly, like I really think that like people are gonna love this game on PC.
A game with a campaign that's a little better than COD's iterations.
Yeah, right. But I mean, it's like we talked about it. It has the competitive ladder. You know, you play, and if you win, you rank up, and if you lose, you rank down. And you know, you get with your friends, and like you take it seriously, and you try to win, and you know the maps, you know the weapon spawns. Like it really comes down to just pure skill, I think. And I mean, that's what I want. That's what I really love about them. So, I think it'll be scary on PC because I'm going to see how bad I really am at it. But I think it'll still be enjoyable.
I think it's gonna blow. I think it's gonna blow up majorly. I think at least initially, and for like a month or so, there's gonna be a fuck ton of people playing it because when they announced it, Twitter was exploding. People are going nuts, man. So I think this is gonna have, like you said, it may have an impact. I definitely think it's gonna get a couple months of a lot of people playing it.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I know I was talking to, you know, a really good friend of mine, Justin King, and he was really excited about it too. So, you know, and if he's amped, then I think we have the whole, you know, West Coast on our side.
Yep.
Second article, or not really article, but just like a million articles to talk about today is all of the videos, you know, regarding Anthem's bugs that have been coming out, you know, on a daily basis. Like, I'm sure that we've all seen them. I honestly, like, I see the same stuff tweeted out like every single hour about this on a daily basis. So, you know, just some of the bugs that have come out, and they are large. Like, I understand why people are bitching about this, but you know, the players have discovered that the starting weapon is the best in the game. You know, that's kind of strange for like a grindy shooter. Yeah. Removing armor can make you more powerful. And there's even a way to have infinite health. Now, these are all things you probably don't want in your game. I don't want to like shit on Anthem though. I feel like enough people have done it. Like, it's played out. I get it. It stinks. Like, I'm tired of hearing about it. And like, that's my main point here. Like, not every game that's gonna come out, like, you're not gonna love them all. And like, some of them are gonna stink. Like, that's just the way that it goes. Like, if you want really good games, and you have to have games that are really bad. That's just like how the market works. Like, maybe it's just time for some of these players to walk away. Like, maybe it's time to stop writing articles on it. Like, you know, and just put this game to bed and move on to greener pastures.
I'm just sad that it's BioWare that had a hand in this, and that was literally one of my favorite studios for the longest time. And look what EA did to them.
I don't know that they're the same. I just don't know that they're the same as they used to be.
No, they can't be.
Definitely not. I mean, they're making a game that this is nothing like what they were like, pretty strict RPG, not in the multiplayer sense, video games. So I don't know what they did to that studio. I don't know how they transitioned to this point. I don't know why you thought that these would be the guys to make this game, but they're probably not the same guys. These aren't the guys you think they are. So
Right.
Isn't that the droids you think they are?
Mhm.
What I wanted to say was, in order for my prophecy to come true, we have to have people stop playing these games and supporting them when they're bad, and just getting on them because they're new games and they have good graphics or whatever.
The Great Ben prophecy.
In order for Ben Stradamus to succeed here, we need people to drop the game, drop these lousy games that come out.
Yeah, I mean the game does look gorgeous. Just to give it like one positive thing.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I mean.
Yeah, it does look gorgeous, but it's just.
It's a cool idea too, but and I watched somebody play out these bugs, and they're just the one just seems like lazy coding with the removing the armor. Just does an average level of what you have equipped. So if you take off a low level piece of armor, it just rounds up to just takes the average of the ones you have on. How do you let that happen?
Yeah, where's the quality control? Yeah, exactly.
Did anybody play this? Like,
no, they couldn't. No, they couldn't stand to.
Yeah, right. That's a shame.
Yeah,
it really is a shame. Hell, if you pay me enough money, I will play your game and find the bugs.
Well, and you've got that big Twitch following.
I do. We can all be in on it.
It's wolf talking. It's
oh, sorry. I thought that was you, Ben. Yeah, that was my fault.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Ben Stradamus.
So last story of the day. This is a really important one. I think, at least for me. I think you guys probably feel the same way, but like we could probably do a main topic just on this. Maybe we will one day. But so Steam just announced they're going to be identifying what they are calling off-topic review bombs in the like user review sections, and they're going to be removing them from the review score. And how they're going to do this is they built a system that will identify when a large quantity of reviews are coming in, and they're going to alert the employees at Valve so they can check to see what the posts are about. And if those employees, see these reviews as review brigading, all the posts within a certain time frame are no longer going to count towards the game's store, as well as even like the actual real review posts that are made during that time as well. Because they're just going to like say, from 6 a.m. to, I don't know, 10 a.m. these reviews aren't going to count or whatever. The reviews are going to be untouched, so you can still read them, but they will not affect the game's overall store or score. You can opt out of this if you'd like. So like on your personal account, like they can still be included, but everyone's opted in right off the bat. So like you have to think like how many people even know about this, and even if you do, I'm sure there's a percentage of people that aren't going to opt out anyway, just if they forget or whatever. So like I guess my first question is like how long until like you can't opt out of this? I just see a ton of problems here, but I'll let you guys start and maybe come back in at the back end of this conversation. But it's just something that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I see it as like a silencing customers censorship issue, which I'm never a fan of.
Right. I mean, the criteria, it'd really have to be fleshed out, I feel like, to make this a positive thing overall. Granted, I don't see what trolley brigading reviews are doing to help, any game or the gaming community at all in the first place. But how you're going to screen and censor out certain reviews for not counting, things like that, I don't. It seems ridiculous. It seems impossible. There's no way that this can be effective. If you're even knocking off one good game review in that X hour amount window where everybody was being a troll for like the first 3 days after the game release because it sucked, they just discredit all the reviews. I don't know. And then another thing that we kind of throw back to, like the release date of a game and how these games aren't static anymore, that they improve over time. So in most cases, different patches, things like that, it could really affect, a game's score in the long run as well. If you discredit, you remove, censor all these initial reviews of a shitty game, and, a few patches roll out later, you didn't have the first 1,000 people that actually bought and played the game when it came out. tell you what it was actually all about. And honestly, I personally don't want to support games that are released in this kind of a format. I mean, this is a really extreme example. It may not happen with all of them, but just something to think about, something scary. I don't want to endorse this poorly released game just because people think that there's troll reviews on there by the Valve employees that are all knowing can somehow moderate this whole ordeal.
Yeah, I agree with you, Wolf. I think it's concerning to realize that they're taking these steps. It seems silly to me. I think that the gaming community in the past has always been like, there's always been trolls, you know what I mean, and and we're pretty good at picking out the trolly shit and realizing that it's trolly shit.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's been here since, you know, video games have been around, even, you know, before all these new ways to communicate with each other and stuff. Just like on like game facts, you know, there used to be reviews of games and stuff. People would leave trolly ass shit on that, like in the 90s, you know, early 2000s. It's always been a thing, and I think that it's just like, let the people decide if they're gonna, you know, if they're gonna, they can make the judgment to realize like, oh, somebody bombed this game with a bunch of bad reviews. You know what I mean? Like, let that be up to the person rather than them controlling it. It just doesn't seem right to me. And I think Matt is correct. This is like this always seems like the first steps towards greater censorship.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like, I mean, it's so open for abuse, right? Like, at what point is a publisher just gonna say, well, hey, Valve, like, we think, like, we're getting review brigaded right now because, like, our game reviews suck. It's not that our game's shit, and it's not that, like, the DLC that we just released is garbage. It's just that, like, everybody else is really stupid and trolling us. And that's definitely gonna happen. I don't even think that that's, like, an if. Like, that's just a when.
Sure.
You know, maybe it's on day one, or maybe it's 8 years from now. I don't know, but it's gonna happen eventually. And the thing is, like, the users aren't gonna know when it's happening. I think it's a preposterous idea. I think it's garbage. I mean, Steam was supposed to be this platform where, like, it was super user friendly, and, you know, there was a battle with the Epic Game Store, and, like, you know, the Epic Game Store was developer friendly, and everybody hated them, right? Steam was pro user. Well, not anymore. Now they both suck equally. I don't know, like, aren't we censored, and isn't everything censored enough already? Like, can't we, like, at least have, like, fucking gaming reviews left intact by the user? Like, does it have to be every semblance of every thought that everyone has anywhere on the internet that has to be looked at by somebody now? It's ridiculous. I can't stand it.
That's the main thing with me too, Matt. Like, and that's why I brought up that this has been going on. We've been dealing with trolls ever since we started playing video games, especially multiplayer video games. And this was like the last bastion where, like, it was just free flow of people's opinions and that uncensored, you know. And I feel like, I'll say it again, this seems like the first steps to just greater and greater censorship.
Yeah, it definitely is. And, like, whether, you know, Valve probably doesn't think of it that way, but, like, that's just the way that it goes. It just, like, evolves into that. And I mean, like, not every social media platform or online community, like, has to police itself all the time. I don't know, like, who they think they are, that, like, I mean, yeah, you have the platform, like, you can do whatever you want, I guess, like, you know, as users, like, we don't have the right to just say whatever, like, it is their platform, but, like, don't they have a responsibility to the consumer to not do this? I don't know, like, I feel like it opens up an avenue for a third party to come out and say, like, okay, well, we're gonna have our own user review site, and, like, come use this, and you can say whatever you want.
Yeah.
Or at least I would hope somebody would.
Well, we can only hope it comes to that if people are gonna censor shit. That's the only thing that can really like combat it, right? Some new third party thing that is, the only thing is, it's hard to establish that from nothing.
It is.
Yep.
Yeah, it is.
That's the biggest issue. But
I mean,
it would be great if it would be able to happen. for sure.
If it gets restricted enough, it will happen. If somebody can make money off of making a platform for open reviews with no restrictions, then it's bound to happen.
You know, you say that, and I wish it were more true, because when I see things like this, especially when that Epic Game Store was coming out, I feel like we get all of this like fake outrage over these things. Like, I couldn't tell you how many Twitter, responses and things to like the Epic Store, like how much hate people seem to have. But it was only like 4 or 5 like posts, but they were upvoted to like some extreme level, like where people were so pissed off that the Epic Store even thought it was going to be a thing, and they're like, "We hate it. Steam's the only thing. You can't do this. Like, this is ridiculous." Like, I feel like that's the kind of like we're already seeing a level of censorship here that is kind of going to be unavoidable, and it's going to be really, really difficult to discern going forward. Like, are we hearing the vocal minority as opposed to like everyone's actual thoughts on this?
Well, and part of the problem too is like a lot of people, as far as reviews go, like if you have something negative to say, people really want to say it. You know what I mean? They really want to let their thoughts be heard. But like if you're having a really good time and having fun, you're just gonna keep playing the game and not really worry about reviews as much. You know what I mean? Like people are more inclined to post something negative and get it off their chest than to post something positive and get it off their chest.
Yep,
It's true.
I agree with you. There's different types of how people go about their reviews. The one thing that I've noticed though is if I really like a game, I get this huge feeling like I want to give back to the developers in some way. And if it's just like, putting in a review or whatever, then I will do that. And, I that's a way of rewarding them, and if we're censoring this shit, and then it's not going to be a proper way to reward and to, it's our mouthpiece in a way too, in this community is to be able to leave reviews and say what we want to say. It's
it's just sad. I feel like it was like the one avenue that everybody had left to have, like you said, Ben, like a voice of how you feel about something. I mean, like, yeah, so we have the streamers like we talked about, but like if they're gonna start getting like paid for promotional content all the time and stuff, like, okay, well then like who do we have? Because like we don't have any of the games journalists, because like they just write like whatever the fuck they want. Like they just write like whatever
self-serving
is the safest option for them to get in bed with the publisher, right? So like there's nobody left. It's like, I don't know. I mean, that's a really dark way to look at it. And like, yeah, I know it's just for the review bombs, and I get it. Like, this isn't like if you write something bad, they're gonna come knocking down your door. But like, it's a slippery slope, and it's a scary first step. And it's like, this didn't even need to happen. Like, were review bombs that big of a deal? Was it like such a pervasive issue that they had to do this? Like, what did it happen 5 times? I don't know.
Is it strange? This is off subject. Is it strange that this is happening after the Marvel?
No, because they actually quoted that, I think, like in their like reasoning for this. Yeah, I think. I think. I don't have it in front of me.
Are you referring to the Marvel what?
The Marvel movie. The new what's Captain Marvel?
Yeah.
They were bombed. That supposedly all the view sites were bombed, and then this is. I mean,
well, then they removed them all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, because they were saying that everybody was saying the movie was great, the reviewers, but nobody liked the movie, kind of thing, or what?
Yeah. The actual reviewers were saying that it was good, and but the regular public was giving shitty ass.
Yeah.
Like
one of those again.
Yeah.
Well, that's just, I mean, that I can see why Valve is going to do this. They want to protect the publishers, right?
Yeah.
Make sure that they keep coming back to Steam to sell their game.
Yeah, I think people just forget who breads their butter.
Who breads their butter? Yeah.
Who butters their bread?
Man, that's how like tired I am. I didn't even notice he said it. that's hilarious. Oh man.
Oh,
Just a
one
little
other
bit of-
thing I wanted to say that, granted, I kind of missed the mark on this one as far as the Twitch streamers and throwing out information. I just saw something really strange that kind of irked me. So Twitter, Apex Legends News. It looks like it is like the official Apex Legends News Twitter. There was a lot of outrage over this. When is season 1 going to be started for Apex Legends? You know, they said this month. It still hasn't started.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
Where they make this post, Apex Legends News, you know, showing Shroud, giving his thoughts on what might have happened. He's saying like, oh, you know, I think they didn't realize they were going to have this much success. I think this is directly affecting their release date of this new content coming out, or whatever it is exactly, and they're going to take their time with it and make sure it's good. The success is what's driving them to be a little bit better. And then, so Apex Legends News sends this out, and their little title is, "Do you agree with @Shroud?" Not like confirming, denying, or anything like that. Like, do you know what I'm getting at? Like, how don't they know? Like, how can't they say like, yeah, this is it, or no? Like,
Yeah, it just sounds like it's just clickbait. Like
maybe
like
they're
like
really trying to get the opinion.
Yeah, or maybe they just want to get it sounds like they just want to get clicks and impressions and stuff. Like that's what it seems like to me. I agree with you. Yeah, it's like garbage content and a garbage article, but yeah, it seems like it's just very clickbaitey, and
yeah.
unfortunately,
But I mean,
that's just Twitter. Yeah,
are they not Apex Legends?
I don't know.
I mean,
I don't.
That's what I'm confused about. Like, are you affiliated with?
Yeah,
If they're not, then I'm gonna change my Twitter name to Apex Legends, like Real News or something, and start doing this and get
maybe you could just be the most trusted name.
200,000 followers. Yeah.
Why don't you just be the most trusted name in news? Pew News.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, you just say you're whoever. It's just crazy. It was crazy to me, but
I'm
I mean,
Gloria Borger.
yeah, using these Twitch streamers to, I don't know, cover their ass, or they're not going to say one way or the other. Like, yeah, Shroud's right. Like, we want to give you the best content, or like,
Yeah.
no,
Anything. Yeah, anything. Right.
do you agree with Shroud?
What
the fuck?
Like, what are you like? Yeah,
I guess,
that's
I
maybe,
guess
weird.
I agree with him.
maybe
I respect
he's-
his opinion,
Maybe he's like their spokesperson now, man.
but he isn't.
Maybe he is.
I don't know.
But anyway, let's wrap it
Maybe he
there.
is.
Let's wrap it there. That was a good show. Thank you very much for watching. If you like the content, please let us know. Check us out on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and Twitter. And hopefully we see you next time.